Hey nerdlings, I'm Sydney and you're watching Sydney's Shelves. I'm here today to do my August wrap-up and my September TBR. I didn't get nearly as much read during the month of August as I did during the month of July. That's because I got my first full-time job, like ever. I feel like such an adult. But as a result, I don't have time to just sit around reading anymore. Yay, adulting. But I did get 9 books read, so I'm really excited to share them with you guys today. Let's do this. First, I read Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. This is about Elin, who is a warrior and lives a brutal life as an Aska Klansman member. While on the battlefield, she is kidnapped and forced to be a slave for an enemy tribe. Not only is she reeling from this, but while on the battlefield, she saw her brother, whom she previously thought was dead. Turns out he'd been living with the enemy for the past few years and had become one of them. This book was pitched as this kick-ass YA female fantasy warrior Viking thing. And the only thing true about that statement is that it was YA. I was pretty bored, the characters were bland, and it was just this weird romance, and I don't know, I didn't have lovely, hyped up feelings about it. If you're thinking about picking up Sky in the Deep, and you're into the whole bringing enemies together to be friends, then maybe that's your thing. Then go ahead and read it, but I would say to give it a pass. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Next I read Torn by Rowena Miller. This is the first book in the Unraveled Kingdom series. I have a video coming out about this shortly, so I'm not going to say too much about it, but just know that it's about a girl who can sew magic into the clothes she makes. Like, how unique and cool is that? I loved it so much, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I listened to the audio for City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This book was so good. So it starts out in 18th century Cairo, and Nari does not believe in magic, but like too bad because she accidentally summons a deva and finds out she has genie blood. Not like Aladdin genie, but like folklore jinn. So her and this deva travel to the Jinn city, but things in the city are not all peace and rainbows. There are 6 Jinn tribes and lots of old resentments, and war is on the horizon. The story is told in dual point of view from Nari and then the second son of the Jinn king. This book is full of such, wow, I'm stuttering because I can't even explain to you how good it is. It's like reading an old myth. It's full of folklore, it's really atmospheric, and will really just draw you in. In the beginning it can be a little info dumpy, but that passes really quickly, and the book is just so good you don't want to miss this one. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Next I listened to the audio for Some Boys by Patty Blount. I did a review on Patty Blount's newest book, Someone That I Used to Know, and since I already owned Some Boys, I thought it would be a good idea to check out how her writing has evolved. This was a terrible idea, because this book sucked. When I say I hated this book, I don't mean it was boring or it was meh. I mean, I hate-read this book. I have a book rant coming out about it later this month just to tell you how much I couldn't stand this book. It was terrible. It's about rape culture, so like that's all good and stuff, but it was done so poorly, I gave it 1.5 stars. Next I read The Death and Life of Eleanor Parker by Carrie Wilkerson. I read this as an ARC for review from NetGalley. I have a full review coming up like immediately, I think it's the next video, but just to give you guys a few details, it's a YA mystery thriller about a girl who wakes up in a river not knowing anything about herself except for the fact that she's positive that she died last night. So she's risen from the dead, and now she has to regain her memories while also trying to catch her murderer. It was very entertaining for a YA thriller, and I thought it was better done than most, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I listened to the audio for The Serpent King by Jeff Zettner. I thought I'd already read this when I signed up for a traveling book of Zettner's newest book, but it turns out I just listened to Julie from Pages and Pens talk about this nonstop, and so I thought I'd read it. So I decided to pick up the audio. It's about 3 friends who live in a very small town, and as they go throughout their senior year and just deal with life's trials and tribulations. It was very heartwarming, and I may have cried, but I only gave it 4 stars for 2 reasons. One, I felt like there was a lot of negative small town stereotypes. The people in the small town were all seen as simpletons and lacking brains and just not kind of lesser than the people that go to college and go to the big city. And as someone from a small town, I didn't really appreciate that. And I really wish it had been challenged more than it did. I wish the ideas had been challenged more than they were. The second reason, and really the bigger reason, is that one of the 3 main characters really took a long time to grow on me. She was very pretentious, very rude. She would invalidate and shut down her friends' feelings and emotions and basically say, it's all in your head, just stop dealing, we're not gonna do this, we're not. And I was like, you don't get to tell your friends how to feel and think, and if they have those feelings, then they're valid and you need to listen and stop being an obnoxious prick. But she did finally grow on me, and so I did end up giving this 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Jeff Setner's other book, The Goodbye Days. This is about a boy who is grieving the loss of his 3 best friends. They were killed in a car wreck that the police think was caused by the driver responding to a text that was sent by our main character. So of course the main character blames himself. And this book is just all about grieving and loss and moving on, and it totally wrecked me. I sobbed and sobbed, and I just can't recommend this book enough. I think my favorite thing is that, well, my two favorite things. One, there's a grandma in this book that is just so precious and reminds me of my own relatives, and I just want to hug her and squeeze her and read more about her, although it would probably make me cry more. The other thing I love is that therapy is discussed as a viable option. In fact, it's seen as like a necessary implementation of recovery. And I love that it wasn't just like, oh, I don't really need therapy, that's for loser pricks. No, like the main character goes to therapy and realizes that he needs it to help him reteach himself how to think about things and how to deal properly with his emotions. And I really enjoyed that. I ended up giving The Goodbye Days 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read the graphic novel Rose, Volume 1. This is about a girl who lives in a world where magic is outlawed. Usually the mages are male, but our main character is exhibiting symptoms of becoming a mage. The mages each come equipped with their own talking cat guardian. There's an evil queen overlord who is trying to shut magic down for good. Basically, this graphic novel is everything that I've ever loved in a story all in one, so of course I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Finally, I read The Tethered Mage by Melissa Caruso. This is about another world where magic is monitored. In the Kingdom of Rivera, mages are forced to grow up in the Muse and then work for the military. They have these bracelets that are placed upon their wrist by a falconer, and the falconer can control their magic by turning it on and off, and the mage has no choice. It's just like the law, you have to come live here and have this bracelet. Our main character's name is Amalia, and she is the daughter of a countess who is on the city's Council of Nine. None of the Council of Nine members are allowed to be falconers, so of course in the opening scene, the countess's daughter, our main character Amalia, puts one of these falconer bracelets on a fire witch. This, along with the fact that war is a brewing throughout the country, creates for a very interesting novel. I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I've already got the sequel, so I'm pretty pumped. Now let's talk about what I'm currently reading. I'm currently listening to the audio for Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie C. Dow. This is a Snow White retelling with East Asian inspiration. I had really high hopes for this because I love retellings, and I think Snow White retellings have a lot of potential in them. And I really love the whole East Asian vibes that we've had growing in the YA book community lately, and so I was really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I spent the first probably 60% of this book very bored and meh, and just waiting for something magical to happen that wasn't happening. I'm about 70 to 80% of the way through right now, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I'm almost tempted to get the second book, but I probably won't pre-order it. I'll just pick it up one day when I have the time and money. It's not like a desperate need. Because, 60% of the way is a lot to go to be bored for the book to finally get good at the end. So, And the other book that I'm reading is my physical copy of School for Unusual Girls by Kathleen Baldwin. This is a historical fiction novel where girls that are kind of on the outcast of society and are the bane of their parents' existence can be sent to the strange school so that they can be taught how to be marriageable young women. Or that's what their parents think. They're actually being taught in the ways of spying, diplomacy, and war. This is a pretty common plot line, but I'm actually really enjoying the book. I think that it's not just, it's got like this recipe for just a plain old Regency romance, but then there's like actual plot stuff happening and actual political issues. And so while I do like the romancy part, I'm also really into this. It kind of reminds me of Robin Lefebvre's Assassin Nun series. And similar to that, each book in this series will follow a different person from the strange school. So I'm I think I am looking forward to the rest of this series. Now let's talk about what I want to read in September. Starting with The Sea Witch by Sarah Hennings. This is a Little Mermaid retelling that focuses on how the Sea Witch became evil. I love I'm obsessed with The Little Mermaid. I need to show you all my collection sometime. And this Ursula is like, she's goals. I love her. So I have some pretty high expectations for this book, and I'm really nervous that I'm going to be let down, especially after the whole To Kill a Kingdom fiasco. There's some mixed reviews about this book, and some people love it and some people just don't, and I'm really nervous. So cross your fingers for me. Say a prayer. Another book that I want to get to is Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. The only thing I know about this book is the obvious, that it's about witches. I'm pretty sure the main character discovers that she's a witch too. Like, she grows up not knowing anything about it, and then she's like, bam, magic's real. So that's going to be pretty interesting. I was just in the market for some witchy reads, and I already own this book, so I thought I would pick it up this month. The next audio that I want to get to is The Last Name in Sarah by Kristen Cicerelli. This book came out around this time last year, and I pre-ordered it and still haven't read it, and the sequel comes out at the end of this month, so before I just go out and buy the sequel, I obviously want to read the first book. The only thing I know about this book is that it's about a girl who hunts dragons. I'm a little nervous about that because I'm an animal person and I love dragons, but I think that it's going to be really good, and so here's hoping that it's a fantastical, magical book. The last book that I'm going to definitively put on my TBR is The Telling by Alexandra Sorowi. The synopsis doesn't really tell me anything about this book, so all I know is that it's a creepy YA thriller, and I'm going to be going in blind. But I love listening to the audio for creepy YA thrillers, or just thrillers in general, because it's like you're sitting around a campfire listening to someone tell you a really scary story. And so I'm super excited about that, with the whole fall happening now and crisper weather vibes coming, so I think it'll be a good time. Well, that wraps up today's video. Overall, I think that I had a pretty good reading month, considering that I'm now working 8 to 5 and I'm in traffic for another 2 hours out of the day. So, I think I'm doing pretty good. Comment down below and let me know what your favorite book that you read in the month of August was. Remember that my social medias are always linked in the description below so that we can continue our bookish conversations. I hope you guys are having a lovely day, and I'll see you in the stacks.